Okay, hi. Thanks for coming along. So we're going to kick off and make it really easy to start with. What got you into photography? Who wants to go first? Go on.
You're the youngest and the newest.
I kind of fell into it by accident. When I was 16, there was a concert I really wanted to go to that was sold out, and I figured out a way in would be to get a press pass, and that is kind of how it started. It was an English rock band called the Subways, who at the time were one of my favourite bands. Still are one of my favourite bands, but yeah.
So what do you do? Just like look,
that's pretty cool.
do you look at the camera and think, you know what, I'll just go, I can do that?
Pretty much. I used to go to a lot of concerts when I was a teenager, so I used to see photographers at the front. I was like, that's a cool job. I wonder how you get to do that.
Nice view, easy access.
Yeah, figured it out, and that's how I fell into it.
Did you get covered in beer?
Not the first time, but I have done many times over the years. Yeah. It's not that fun.
At least it's beer.
True.
We had that conversation earlier, some people throw worse things.
Yes. Luckily it's only ever been beer with me.
Good, oh that's good. What about you, Amy? What got you into photography?
My dad is an artist and ended up just kind of teaching me how to look at light, I guess. And no, I just kind of fell into it when I was about 16, and I initially started shooting weddings. And then I just thought that, you know, this would be kind of like, this would be my job, or, you know, something else. And then about 5 years ago, a friend of mine said, can you shoot this car for me? And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but yeah, we'll give it a go. And took all my wedding knowledge and put it for a car, and then yeah, 5 years later, here I am.
So were they selling the car, or?
Yes, so well, basically they built this, it's a replica Ferrari P4, so it's a very rare, the original is a very rare car, so the car is quite an iconic vehicle, so they had built everything, like it's so perfectly replicated that they were like, we want to show off what we can do, so they just wanted reference shots, and so I just gave it more of a beauty shoot, which went well.
And really sort of fired your imagination.
Yeah, it did, I suppose, yeah, and then I just thought, oh, right, this is interesting, but it was more the car world and the people behind it, which I found more interesting, more so than the cars, in fact.
Yeah.
So that was me.
Now you shoot weddings, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that what you started with?
Started with fashion, actually.
And that's what got your interest?
No, it's not as interesting as these guys, unfortunately. I just had an impulse.
Just skip it then.
I was looking on eBay and I saw a camera, and I thought, I must have that, but I don't know why. And I always listen to my intuition. It's just like a thing that I've done since I was a kid. And so I just bought the camera and started playing with it, and before I knew, I was just completely hooked.
Yeah.
Completely hooked.
Was that film or digital?
Digital. It's 2006, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Bought the first camera.
So what were you shooting initially? Fashion, did you say?
Yeah. So like pictures of my sisters, and my girlfriend's got an amazing portfolio now. And she was very patient with me. Then I shot like a social event for one of my workmates. And I fell in love with the social event, like you said, it's the people behind it that you just really connect with people.
Yeah.
Then ended up doing a friend's sort of wedding and just completely snowballed from that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was never an active decision.
So, I mean, there are a lot of wedding photographers and music photographers, not so many, I think, motorsports photographers. How do you actually distinguish yourself? How do you stand out from the crowd?
For me, it's like, sorry to interrupt
No,
there.
no,
Like,
Go ahead, you're on a roll, you're on a roll.
I've got to think of an answer.
it's in there somewhere. Yeah. It's like, well, don't do what everybody else is doing, basically.
Yeah.
Like the second Instagram had that sort of tilt shift feature, I stopped using my tilt shift, which is irritating because I bought it the year before and it's quite an expensive lens. And I was like, damn you Instagram. But if you follow the herd, you're never going to stand out. So you have to shoot something original.
I think someone once said to me, you know, if you're always copying, then you're always one step behind, and
Exactly.
you've got to be completely new to be able to be at front and in front. And so, yeah, no, I totally agree with that as well. So just find your own little place in your little photography world, I guess. For me, I mean, most people were shooting cars because they loved the cars, and I wasn't obsessed with cars at the time, especially, and so I was shooting them purely from an outsider's point of view, and all the people around it and the world around. So it was from a completely different angle of car photography, I guess. It was more of a photojournalistic car photography than a car photography, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
What they said. They basically said what I was going to say.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a bit like saying, don't think of a chair.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at lots of people's work and you want to do something different, how do you do that different thing? What inspires you?
God, I don't know. That's a tricky one, especially with me, because like what I found best for me is gaining the trust of the artists I work with. That's something that helps massively, but it's only something you kind of get along the way. It's not something that happens instantly. Happens through trust and things like that. I found that has helped me massively. And once you get that access that other people can't get, that kind of puts you in a different kind of place to the other people. And you know, when I first started, I was just in the press bit getting the same kind of shots everyone else in there was getting. But then once I started touring with these people, I was on stage, I was climbing up in the rigging, I was, you know, everywhere.
That sounds awesome.
That's really cool.
And it was more than the first 3 songs, which is the general like press pass rule. I got to photograph the whole set. I could be backstage, you know, I was touring with them, so I get a lot more intimate moments that these other photographers didn't get.
Cool. Okay. Cool. So, nice easy question. Which is your go-to camera at the moment?
D850.
D850. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but
D850 and D750.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Is
Still
it
love
your
that
camera
camera.
thing that you like? The
Yeah.
resolution, speed.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting street photography, like the D750 with a little 35 1.8, it's just an amazingly capable combo.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah. I suppose I compare my D850 with my D5, so for me that's the really compact thing that I can take around with me when I want to try and be a bit sneakier.
It's a bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, D850, it's absolute powerhouse. Quite a lot of the photos I take kind of end up on billboards sometimes, so the resolution helps with that massively, and the amount of data it stores is unbelievable.
So is it all the same thing for all you guys? Is this the resolution that really pulls you in? Is there another key feature that you really love about
I mean,
it?
for me, I don't ever. This is one thing that's, I suppose, is different for me even from car photographers. I didn't use any lights or anything like that. It's purely natural light. So its ability to literally see in the dark for me for the D8. It must be the same for you. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And it's insane. So because people look at you and like, oh, you've not got any lights. I'm like, no, but I don't need it with this. And so it works great.
It's like cheating.
It literally is. Yeah, it really is. So like literally last week I was doing like a night shot when the sky was beautifully starlit, but no moonlight or anything. And I just set quite a long exposure, and then it came out, and to have a starlit car, not like a moonlit, but like starlit, was this beautiful soft light. It's something you just never would see anywhere else, really. So yeah, for me that was it, really.
What ISO was that? I'm going to geek out here. What ISO?
I have no idea. I'd have to look back at the data.
Make it up.
It was like
25,000.
25,000. Yeah, that was it. That was
what
it.
I thought you were going to say. Yeah,
So
I've got to agree with that. But also the dynamic range for me,
Okay.
and like the colour rendition, like the especially the D750 has got some sort of magic fairy dust in the raws, so I can like absolutely nail skin tone, which is really important for me. And 750 is exceptional, 850 is great as well. But that 750, there's something Nikon did with it. I don't know what it is, but it's got the best raws I've ever used.
Do you do much processing?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't. I have like 30 seconds. That's
30
it.
seconds?
Yeah, I managed to
Goodness me.
like nail it down to a very short time.
Either you're exceptional, and I'm
Exposure.
press that button, that'll do.
That was it. That was like, yeah, I'll be about there. White balance exposure done. What do you do?
A lot of my turnaround is pretty much the same night when I'm shooting concerts, so
Yeah,
I have
yours
to
must
do
be
it.
like immediate.
Yeah, I've got to do it quite quick because these musicians want to get it online on Instagram and stuff as soon as they can. So yeah, but I'm quite lucky. Like my only sort of real job I was a digital retoucher for a few years in a like a family portrait studio. So I learned how to do editing and stuff pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't really do that much post-processing on it because I like to try and keep it as real as I can. Try and do everything I can.
You don't just use the JPEG?
No, I only ever shoot RAW, so yeah.
Well, Amy, this might be a question for you because you've been an ambassador a little bit longer.
Yes.
What does it mean being a Nikon ambassador?
I mean, for me, it's, you know, I was saying to some of the guys earlier that it was, you know, Nikon have been with me as my very first camera. You know, as on my 16th birthday, I got given a Nikon D50, I think it was, and it just becomes this tool that you use to create these images that becomes literally, I don't know you guys, but for me, my dream job. And it sounds a bit cliche, but Nikon literally were the driving thing for that for me. And so then to get the phone call to say, hey, do you want to be an ambassador for it? It was like, oh, really? And so it was, for me, it was just kind of insane to think, okay, this company that I've invested all my faith into their products suddenly has faith in me. And that was a really wonderful feeling for me, I think. Yeah.
So it gave you more confidence?
Yeah, that was one thing. To be kind of like, I don't know, to think, okay, I think I'm doing a good job, but I don't really know. People are hiring me. It's going quite well so far. But then to have like Nikon say, we like you so much, we want you to be an ambassador for us, was like, I'm actually quite okay. So, yeah, that was for me a really big, ego boost.
Was there much of a response with the other photographers that you work with at the circuit? Or?
Yeah, like, okay, so I walked into one of the biggest events I shoot is the Goodwood Revival, and you kind of walk into the Goodwood Revival, and at the time I'd also borrowed this screaming yellow Ferrari California T, and they're like, all right then, Nikon Ambassador California T, you go, and it's just like, yeah, sorry, and they're like, someone's doing something right, so yeah, I mean, it's cool because, I mean, you end up talking to other photographers who are using different gear, and you can have a good conversation about why you love the gear you've got, but it never sways you from who you love for the reasons that you love, and you do try to sway other people because you're like, oh, but you know, you've not got this or this. Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, it's no, it's wonderful to be able to be here.
What about you guys? What's your?
You guys are quite new, aren't you?
I've actually only been shooting Nikon less than a year. I was always, I was on the dark side for a while. We won't talk about that. They sponsored an expedition I did because I have a weird job where I do like a lot of his music and touring, but then I do crazy expeditions up to like the Arctic and North Pole a lot. And Nikon were one of the main sponsors of an expedition I did last summer where we attempted to sail to North Pole in a yacht. So obviously I had to use Nikon gear, as you do in the summer. And so I had to use Nikon gear, and amazingly the support from the get-go was incredible. They would literally like, what do you want? How much do you need? And I'm like, oh, this. Is that all right? And they're like, yeah, anything else? It's like, I'll have that, like that. It's like, yeah, anything else? I'm like, you sure? Yeah, I'll have this. And then so I used that pretty much day in, day out. The expedition was about a month and a half, so all day, every day. I was using the gear and literally just fell in love with it. And then when I got back, the D850 had just been released. And obviously all the gear that was given to me was on loan, so I gave that back, and the guys were asked if I wanted to try out the D850 for like my normal day-to-day job when I'm on tour. And I was like, actually, I'm going on tour next week. So I tried it on tour, and again, it was like nothing I've ever used before, so I fell in love with it, and we just kept in touch, and now I'm here. Yeah.
Great. You got any?
Just a month for me, so
right.
New kid on the block.
Yeah.
Saving the sand, it shows
Initial
my
thoughts,
age.
quite like it?
Oh, it's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
I said for the brief interview that it was literally a dream come true. It's like one of my life goals was I always want to be a Nikon ambassador, because the second I used their gear, it just fit me perfectly. And so to, like Amy said, I think you said it very eloquently and perfectly, to be honest, like to be asked by the people that sort of, and to represent what you believe in.
Yeah.
Is awesome.
Yeah, it's like kind of that recognition is like, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a massive fist pump,
Amy, have you got any tips for the two newbies about, you know, how to get the most from it? And
do everything that they ask, because it's, it's awesome. The opportunities that you get given as well, because it's like they throw you out of your comfort zone, but you end up thinking, okay, this is actually really cool, I'm really enjoying this. So like the Coffee Cakes cameras or the workshops and stuff like that are really good fun.
Yeah, I did one this morning. It was
fun.
fun.
How did you find that?
It was alright.
Yeah. Apparently you were like proper chilled out.
With jet lag on my head.
Yeah.
That's why you was proper chilled out.
Oh no, I'm just a chilled kind of person.
Damn it.
Don't really get stressed out or worry about things. So.
Have you done a Coffee Cakes camera yet?
Not yet, no.
No. You just got lots of people staring at you.
So I think probably got time for one last question from me. You all shoot different types of photography, but do you look at each other and think, why would you shoot that? That's, you know, do you think you've got the best job in the world, or do you look and think, wow, I wish I could shoot that?
And we're all photographers, we've all got the best job in the world.
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's what you love to do. Anyone who enjoys what they do as a job as such, it's so lucky, it's ridiculous. So.
I think the quote is something like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your
exactly.
life.
So
and
true.
I don't feel like I've worked for like the last 5 years. I've been tired, but I've not worked. So.
But do you fancy going and shooting Calvin Harris?
I'm more interested in your expeditions. That to me, to the north. I've said to you, like your North Pole trip is my literal dream job.
Yeah.
And I miss the weddings, because you end up being some amazing couples, and you just feel like you've got like friends for life, and it's very short kind of meeting. But sometimes you are friends for life.
It's very intense, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. But I don't know what about you guys. Fancy shooting cars, motorbikes?
Yeah, I'd prefer to drive them,
cars,
but
Yeah. Yes, to be honest. So
Maybe you should do a challenge. You'll swap around.
Yeah, we'll swap around.
It'd be very interesting.
That would
It'd
be
be quite exciting.
Nikon? Sounds good, right?
Organised.
So, has anyone else got any questions?
I'm very quite shy.
I usually have 2 questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask something. I mean, Amy, probably more to you.
I mean, obviously you've been a member of the program for longer. Obviously there are other Nikon ambassadors as well. Do you have dialogue with them? Do you keep in contact with them, or?
Not really. It's usually when we kind of like put an event where you meet up like this, or when we do the photography show. I suppose because most of the times I barely have time to see my mum, and so it's kind of like you end up kind of like, once you're put in that position, you kind of see everybody and you're like, hey, how's it going? And you talk loads and you really get on. And then I don't know, if you need if you need advice, or stuff that involves kind of like directly their expertise, then yeah, you definitely get in touch with them. Like I've talked to a couple of the ambassadors quite a bit, simply from that side of things as well. But no, otherwise we don't get to hang out as much as I suppose we'd like to. Yeah.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yeah. You talked about your favourite cameras. What's your favourite lens?
I got mine straight away.
Yeah.
My go-to is the 24 to 70 2.8. It's just a standard go-to lens for me for pretty much everything.
Cool. 35mm 1.4, easy. Like if I had to like just choose one thing to take with me everywhere, that would be it.
Same.
Yes! It's a brilliant lens!
It's just the best workhorse lens ever.
Yeah, well, I'm like, full frame camera, suddenly it's just like everything you're living, you're like splurging back out again. It's
Can I get one of them?
Yeah.
You should, that's great.
Where are you tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyone? Last one?
Yeah, can I ask another one? Just on again, I'm wondering if you've had experience with Nikon Professional Services, and if you have, how has that gone for you, and what has that experience been like dealing with that?
What's his Stuart's face right now? I've used them for a time. You just hit some stairs and put someone run up the stairs. I've used MPS. And it was, I'm not just saying this, but it was really quick and pretty much flawless. And that was pre-Ambassador as well, that's about 2 years ago. They fixed my 28 to 70 in a couple of days, which was awesome. I think that NPS is a very strong thing actually, because I'm not going to name names, but there's some other manufacturers who have troubles with their services. Some of my friends have had some big issues of getting cameras back and stuff. But with the Nikon stuff, for me personally, I can't vouch for everyone, but I don't know what their experience is, but mine's been flawless. And apparently, when you're ambassador, you get a fast track as well, so it's going to be better rights to it.
No, I've never used it, never needed to.
Yeah, like I said, I've only been shooting Nikon the past few months, so yeah, I've got no experience. I've heard great things though.
Yeah.
Just now.
Just now.
Cool. Anyone? Yes, Katie?
As ambassadors, you're kind of role models for photography, and if anybody's setting out into kind of like, yeah, I see what you guys do, it's awesome, how do I do that, I want to get into it, what would like your 3 perfect pieces of advice be to that person?
Awesome question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we can do like 3 each or 1 each between us.
3 each.
You're on the sofa.
All right, number 1. Like we said before, to touch on, do your own thing. Don't try and copy anyone else. 2, get really comfortable with your gear so you can do it with your eyes closed, because the second you do that, you get rid of a technical aspect that can distract you from the creative side, which again works for number 0.1.
Sure.
Number 0.1, that's good English, isn't it? But when you know the camera inside out, you can shoot instinctively and it's always going to work.
Yeah.
And in the third one, I would say, wow, don't worry about don't compare your work to other people's work, compare it to your own work. Just try and beat yourself. If you want to grow, you have to expand your own idea of what photography is, not just like follow someone else. So cherry pick, basically, from your favourite photographers and just get the best bits, build your own recipe and become your own person for it, really, and that's how you'll stand out.
They're like the best 3 answers, you never
Yeah.
So, go on, you. Maybe we can do 3 between us.
Yeah. I'd definitely say, like, from me, when I started to where I am, I was always someone that never took no for an answer. So applying for photo passes at gigs and stuff like that, I'd go through like the PR or the management, they'd say no. I'd try and still find a way in, and 90% of the time I would, either it'd be through the support artist or someone like that, I'd always find a way in. because you know there's always going to be people saying no. I still get it now, and people say no, but I still figure it out and find a way in.
I bet like loads of people will stop at that first no as well.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
I probably would have the first time I sent that email to the band management. The first, if they said no, I was like, oh, I've probably got to go study photography.
What kept you going then?
The fact they said yeah.
That helps.
And then I was like, okay, cool, I actually can do that. I don't have to go study it. And that was the first time. And then after that, I realised that you don't have to. Yeah. Go on, your point two.
I mean, for me, I went into a world that was very defined, and I did something I don't think had really been done before. And for me, it was properly intimidating because, like, I'd showed up to my first like big car gig, which was at the time at the Goodwood Members meeting, and I had one camera and like 2 lenses or something, and then I was rocking up to these blokes that had these massive lenses that are doing track stuff, and I was like, oh, I feel like I should probably be doing this. It was almost that fear of I should be doing that, but I was like, well, I can't, so I'll just do the best with what I've got, and which produced something totally different to what these other people were producing. I thought, oh, okay, I still like what I'm creating here. It's different, as you were saying, making your own kind of mark, but it was because I was almost not forced to, but I just had different equipment to work with. So that became like my style, which ended up becoming my little thing in the car world. So I suppose my advice would be, don't get put off by the way you think things should be, but do what you personally love and find interesting in your own little world, I think. Back onto the last 3 of us.
I was kind of going to say something similar to that. God, that's put me on the spot now.
Sorry.
Did you feel that you had to push harder being a woman?
I was going to ask that as well.
I touched on it earlier, we were just chatting away, where even now I still get asked, so are you doing this for a school project or a university project? I'm like, no, I do this for my job. I'm like, okay, well, do you have an all-one job as well? I'm like, no, this is literally just my job. So I do sometimes get it, or sometimes by certain people will almost get like told to go somewhere because I'm not meant to be there. I'm not going to hang on. I have a right to be here because I'm also a press photographer or whatever. And so you do sometimes get it and have to kind of like be a bit, not aggressive, but kind of like, yes, be like, I am going to stay here, thank you very much. So no, especially initially, it was, I showed up to a shoot, and especially 5 years ago, people didn't particularly trust, this 22-year-old girl that showed up like kind of with a camera to do the job that they're hiring her for. And so I had to force my way through the day, get the pictures out and show them to them before they thought, oh, actually, no, we quite like that, and then form a relationship and a trust, and have since been clients ever since then. So for me, that was a bit difficult to begin with, not so much now, but yeah, especially at the start. Yeah.
Wow, I'm amazed that answer, you have that reaction still.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That is insane, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all right now, but I don't
But
know.
you're a convincing argument with the pictures you produce, so that's great.
Sometimes it's it can be difficult to have to be like, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, can I look at your work on Instagram or something, and then they see my work, and then it's a bit like, oh, you're all right, you are. I'm glad you think so. So yeah, but, yeah, so no, it can be, but it's all right.
So, one last question, or is that?
Yeah, discomforting question or disarming question. I was just wondering, what's been your most embarrassing moments on a shoot?
There's going to be like a total winner here with this guy.
I was going to say, you hang out with a lot of very cool people.
You do crazy things, yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Hang on, can I go first so I don't sound like really rubbish?
No, it'll be better than mine for sure.
That won't be.
I'm trying to think.
Most embarrassing was actually, I call it surprise boudoir. I didn't. We
need to do stop there.
The bride said to me, like completely unawares, she didn't say to me anything beforehand, but like, can you take some sort of sexy shots for me in my underwear before we go to the church? And I was like, poker face. I was like, yeah, that's fine, it's absolutely fine. Inside I was like, yeah. And so but when she went, okay, Ross, I'm ready, I was like, okay, here we go. And I go upstairs and it's completely transparent. It's not even just underwear, it's completely transparent. So I sort of got, a nice pose where everything's covered. So I took a shot and I was just out there. Like the old cartoons where there's like a person or a cartoon character and like they leave and there's like a little bit of smoke. I left like an outline of mist of my body in the bedroom. Straight down the stairs.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was weird.
Have you got one?
Yeah, I thought of one.
Go on.
Okay, so I was 22, 23. I was on tour with a female pop singer, and her manager of her record label was JayZ. And she was supporting Coldplay on tour, and JayZ's friends with Coldplay. And I just started working with her, and the night before I'd been to a JayZ and Kanye concert, and I'd bought some merch, and I had a big JayZ face on my t-shirt. And you can probably see where this is going. And all day she's there like, oh, Jay's coming to the show today, and I'm like, who the hell? It must just be a friend of hers. Like, I don't know who this is. I just started working with her, not knowing that she meant JayZ. So she goes, performs. We go upstairs, and I pack away my camera gear. But she's like, come meet Jay. I'd love you to come meet him. He's upstairs. I'm like, cool. I go up on my own. Beyonce opens the door, so straight away I'm like, oh my god, okay, this is JayZ with Love My Hair. Completely forgetting I'm wearing a big, like an actual picture of his face on my t-shirt. So Beyonce's opened the door, she's a bit like, who are you? And then she, the girl I was working for, she was like, oh, this is Conor, my photographer, like he's cool, let him in, blah blah. So say hello to her. Immediately I see JayZ, he comes over and says hello, and he's like, handsome guy in your t-shirt. And I'm like, he's like, who is that? And I look down and I'm like, oh, that's you. And then it gets even more embarrassing because he was like, nice shoes as well, and we were wearing the exact same shoes. So I must have looked like the biggest fanboy of all time.
Maybe the next time you see him, he'll have a picture
Well,
of
he
your
remembered,
face.
yeah. It was good because he remembered me every time I saw him from there. He was like, t-shirt guy. I'm like,
You've been given a nickname from JayZ.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is something for the... Yeah, that is cool.
yeah, I'm t-shirt guy.
It's t-shirt. I think mine would probably be one of the first bike events that I ever shot, and like bikers are a whole different kind of group of people to kind of classic car racers and drivers, and like bikers, especially in the classic car stuff, can be super cool. I mean, like ridiculously cool. At this point, I'm like a bumbling 23-year-old or something, like, and just kind of show up. And long story short, after this kind of shoot, and there's like, I don't know, 200 bikes around. I get to meet like the king and queen of this bike world, basically, and they've asked me to shoot some stuff for them. And I go to pick up my drink, which is on the floor, and it's like an orange juice, and to move it out of the way. And it's one of those like kind of like Starbucks kind of cups with the lid on. I pick it up by the lid, and not realising that as I kind of leant down to pick it up off the floor, the lid would come off, the drink would hit down at a force and literally volcano the orange juice into my face, into my hair, and I just look back up and I'm dripping. I'm like, oh, honestly,
That's like the worst timing.
I've never, no, and then I had to sit on a train for 2 hours back home, this dry, sticky orange juice in my face and hair.
You drank orange juice since, or was
No,
that like
I've been against it ever since. So yeah, but they've since seen me, and all I can think now when I see them is, please forget the orange juice, please. I've never dared ask, so I think I'll just continue to not ask.
Good plan, I think that's probably a good plan. Okay, well, thanks very much, guys. It's been really fun talking to you. Do you want to show your appreciation?
Yeah.